tonight, so I'm here at BBC Coventry Warwickshire doing an interview today, between 12 and 1 with Vicky. So, yeah, we'll be looking into this bit of lunch scale and telling you what I'm up to. Enjoy.
Very soon indeed. First of all, though, £20,000, it's a lot of money, isn't it? And it's what one man from Rugby is after as he tries to open a dry bar in the town. His name is Carl Newton. He's had a battle with alcohol that dates back to when he was 14 years old, but he wants to try and solve the stigma around alcohol addiction by providing a venue that serves non-alcoholic drinks and hopefully will ease the pressure on people like him. Thanks for coming into the to studio to see us, Carl.
Thank you for having me.
14 years old. And it's you know, not going to say that I wasn't dabbling with bottles of Thunderbirds and Woodpecker, but it's actually probably not then at 14. But to start a problem at the age of 14, how on earth does that happen?
Well, it was a system of being given alcohol at that age and then sort of just becoming used to it.
Who was giving you alcohol?
Parents.
Your parents were giving you?
Well, it was just the odd bottle with dinner and stuff like that, but it was then getting used to having my dinner and having a bottle of beer at that sort of age, so it kind of built from there. And then as soon as I was in a circuit of friends at 14 and 15, we had one of us that looked old enough and would go to the off licence, and we'd hang around parks and have a good few cans and a bit of a drink. So
how do you go from that sort of being a teenager basically to having a full-on problem?
That kind of developed, I'd say, by the time I was sort of 17 or 18. I'm very fortunate to look a lot younger than my age, so I wasn't normally able to get served in the off licence, but I certainly had mates that did. And then as I became nearer the legal age and I had my identification, it kind of just been then there was nothing stopping me, and there was nothing else going on, and I started off having a mental illness problem at that point as well. It was just used as a coping mechanism.
Right, okay, so that's the nub of it then. It was a way of coping with problems. So the mental illness, what kind of problems was that causing?
It was something that was diagnosed at the time as manic depression, which is now commonly known as bipolar.
So you were bipolar then, and the only way you could find to deal with it was by drinking. Give us an idea of what...
Self-medicating. I wouldn't say it was really coping with the matter, but it was my rough idea of coping with it.
Okay, and what were you drinking? How much were you drinking?
A normal sort of weekday was anywhere between 8 and 12 cans of lager, with some chasers later on in the evening from about 6. Weekend it'd be anywhere between 12 and 16 lagers with chasers throughout the whole day.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
Where did you find the money for that?
Jobs I had at the time, I had quite a few high-profile jobs in the past, and sort of borrowing money beyond my means. Many loans and credit cards and things like that. Got myself into all sorts of mess.
Yeah, so you're self-medicating by drinking, and at the same time you're coping with the debt that you're getting into because of the amount it was costing you.
Yeah, and it's a vicious cycle. The more debt accumulates, the more down I get, the more I drink.
The more you drink. And so this went on for years then, Kurt?
Yeah, half my lifetime. More or less. I'm 31 now, so yeah.
Wow. When did you realise that you had a problem?
In truth, looking back at it, I probably knew as soon as about 6 or 7 years ago. And I reached out for treatment initially, and I maybe did a patch where I was dry for a month or two.
What does that mean, reached out for treatment? To whom did you reach?
In the first instance, it was AA. It was a stereotypical thing of the doctor saying, go to AA. Try their 12-step programme. I didn't really agree with that wholeheartedly. So then there was a service called Aquarius, who were based throughout the West Midlands and the country, and I reached out to their Birmingham office. And I think I managed to do, it was about 2.5 months without a drink with Aquarius. But then ultimately I went back to drinking again.
To somebody who doesn't understand addiction, I'm not really addicted to anything, despite people being rude about me and cake and pork batches. What's it like when you were drinking? Describe what it was like when you woke up in the morning. What's the craving feel like?
You wake up and you sort of feel very shaky and unsteady, and kind of like the best way to describe it is I'd have a can of lager by my bed in the morning, or a bottle of some sort of spirit, and I'd have a good swig, a good drink, and then I'd feel like I was back in the room, I was normalised again, I was levelled out, because I just feel shaky and nauseous and not at all with it before that.
And then the drink made you normal.
It
but
steadied you out, yeah.
So, and then you carry on drinking though
throughout the day.
And what kind of state did you? I know somebody who was an alcoholic, a member of our family, and she got so bad sometime. Oh, it just isn't thinkable. The states that she used to get into. What kind of?
I could lose days on end sometimes. Sometimes if I woke up early, say 8 or 9 a.m, and I'd not been feeling particularly great, and I drank heavily up till about lunchtime, say, or mid-afternoon, then I'd have no recollection of the rest of the day after that.
Wow, that's pretty scary.
It is fairly scary. I'd have conversations I never knew I had. I'd go places I never know I'd been.
What kind of drunk are you? You know, you get like happy drunks, you get aggressive drunks, you get some who are just a complete mess.
I don't know, because I'd sort of subconsciously clock out.
Did nobody around you notice?
A few people notice, but I'm very good at hiding things.
Right.
Like I've got my family now, and they're based in Birmingham, so as long as I was putting on a good enough front while I was in Birmingham, and they didn't suspect anything, it'd be fine. It'd be the other 6 days of the week I was in rugby at home, going about my business, doing what I was doing that'd be doing the harm.
No, you were a mess when you were drinking. You were shaking. You felt horrendous in the mornings. How are you now? How long have you?
Just over 35 weeks now.
Wow. Okay.
Without a drink, so that's about 8.5 months, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah. So that's not bad going. And what's the latest sort of program involved?
The latest is I'm still using a place called the Recovery Partnership in Rugby. They've also got an office here in Coventry on Ironmonger Row. And initially they helped me get off alcohol by putting me on a type of medication called anti-abuse.
What's that do?
Basically, it's in your system, and if any alcohol enters your system, it can be anything from a best case scenario of the worst hangover you've ever had immediately, to if your immune system's not very strong and you've got heart problems or anything like that, it can be seizures, going into a coma.
So if you drink, wow.
And that's even a drop, and that's even to the level that most people won't realise tomato ketchup has spirit vinegar in it.
Yeah.
So if you have a drop of tomato ketchup, that can cause a reaction.
Yeah, like cough medicine, things like that.
I was on anti-abuse for 6 months, and I cannot tell you how much I missed a bit of ketchup on my bacon sandwiches. To the point of obsession.
Can you have it now?
I can have it now. I'm off the anti-abuse now. And I actually did a bit of in The Lion King when he holds up the cub?
Yeah.
I did that in the supermarket with a bottle of ketchup when I came off the anti-abuse, just to rejoice the fact I had ketchup back in my life.
Bless you. That must have been a nightmare for you. Mind you, not that you've not been through enough. How do you feel now? Because you were drinking as well to cope with bipolar.
Yeah.
Have you got that under control as well?
Well, I've always kind of avoided formal treatment for that and formal diagnosis and sort of counselling and all the other sort of things that GPs refer you to. But because I've stopped drinking, I've kind of had to get the bull by the horns and sort of embrace all that and go down that route. And it's very much still an ongoing thing, but we're getting there.
If you were drinking to cope with that, you need to get that under control, because surely the risk of drinking again.
Yeah.
Well, don't know. Do you carry on drinking because you need the drink, or because of your?
I read an interesting thing. Obviously, I'm doing my blog, which we'll probably touch upon in a bit. But I read an interesting concept that is that we're not addicted to drink or the substance or whatever it is that you end up addicted to, because otherwise everyone that's ever picked up a glass of wine would be an addict. What we're addicted to is the alteration of mood that brings. So a lot of it then is about finding a different way to get that alteration of mood or that dopamine release, rather than using or drinking.
Right, I see. How do you feel now? What's it like when you wake up in the morning and you're sober and not hungover?
Sometimes I don't wake up in the morning, to be perfectly honest with you. I wake up at lunchtime. I'm not very good at getting out of bed at the moment. But, yeah, it's a lot more positive. There's a lot more positive things going on. I actually care about myself as a person. Like before, maybe when I was drinking, I wouldn't wash for days, wouldn't particularly bother grooming, and I wouldn't really care what I was doing or what sort of direction I had in my life. Whereas now I'm back in adult learning now. I'm embracing a few hobbies that I never embraced before. I'm kind of challenging myself to say, well, maybe you can get into these sort of things. So yeah, a lot more positive in general.
Do you miss it?
Not really. And to be honest, the more I'm reading into to drink and addiction with the blog, the more empowering it is for me to actually look back and go, why did I do that in the first place, really?
But with alcoholics, you never stop craving alcohol, though, do you? I mean, what's it like, I don't know, nipping through the supermarket and say, because there isn't just alcohol in the alcohol aisle, you get it at the end of every aisle, don't you? There's wine on offer and things like that.
Yeah, it's normally slap bang in your face when you walk in a supermarket as well, cases of it stacked up. But I'd say there's no definitive answer. I know other service users that can't go in a supermarket or a pub for that very reason.
Really?
Whereas I'm at a point where if I'm with like-minded people, friends of mine that aren't drinking, and I know why I'm not drinking and I need to stay strong, I can actually go into that situation and it maybe won't even crop into my mind.
Wow, it sounds like you've probably got it under control. Hence, I suppose, your business idea. We'll talk about that in just a sec, if we may, with Carl Newton, who's with us here in the studio. For now, then, 19 minutes to watch. Production on that is fabulous, isn't it? The sun ain't going to shine anymore. We will shine anymore. Yeah. We'll talk some more to our guest, Carl Newton, in just a moment. First, though, that is the strain of Tracy. I say strain, and I use that word.
The harmonies.
Yeah.
I know, brilliant though, fantastic song.
Tracy Doodoo with you after 1 o'clock. What you got going on?
Good to see you. We're going to be hearing from the creator of QI, the brilliant TV show. He's got a book out, John Lloyd. And did you know, there's all sorts of strange facts in there, but did you know Lady Godiva didn't ride through the streets of Coventry?
Yes.
You knew that.
Well, she did ride through the streets of Coventry, but not naked.
Not naked.
She was not wearing jewellery.
I see. Yeah, you see, they're news to me. We didn't know. So he's got loads more facts, including why chainsaws were used in sort of midwifery. So that was really, it's made me sort of squirm. Sorry for eating your lunch. All sorts of crazy facts. It's Day 3 of Quiz Adudu. It's 2-0 to back time. So we will see just if Ashley's bookstore can come back.
Crunch time.
Yeah. And we're talking about keeping Coventry and Warwickshire warm. There's loads of things you can get for free that we will be revealing for you all.
Brilliant. Last year, somebody wrote a letter to our local paper suggesting you make a vest out of bubble wrap. I don't know if that suggestion is in there.
That is a great idea.
The immature adult in me would have too much fun with that.
Do you know you would, because you'd go bouncing. But yeah, imagine that bubble wrap tabard.
That is I'm loving it.
Warm and waterproof.
All I can say is Vic on Dragon's Den.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can see it.
I'm in.
Trish is in. Nobody else would be there, would they? Have this. A tabard made from bubble wrap. Brilliant. Tracy Doodoo with you after 1 o'clock. No, they're in the studio with me at the moment is Carl Newton, who has been talking about his battle with drink, addicted to drink since his teenaged years, now clean, and has a brilliant idea for a dry bar. Now, explain to us precisely what a dry bar is.
It's something that's already been set up. There's 2 in London, and there's 1 in Nottingham, close by, which I'm making a pilgrimage to soon. And it's this concept that we've got to a sort of state of society now where when people go out, they go out primarily to get drunk, rather than the old-fashioned days of socialising, having a chat, all that kind of thing. Dance, like in the olden days, the gentleman you were alluding to earlier would have gone to dance ballrooms and that kind of thing without particularly going out just to chase getting drunk. So it's that concept of having somewhere where you can socialise, where there isn't alcohol involved.
Is that not like a coffee shop? Is that not a similar sort of idea?
Possibly, yes, but we were looking more along the lines of a normal sort of bar, like I can see one over the road from the studio now, that kind of has sport and pool tables and food and live music and everything associated with a live venue, but without the alcohol, whereas as a coffee shop would sort of be primarily more a daytime, quiet sort of meet and have a coffee sort of affair.
It's quite interesting, actually. I've got a website in front of me for a dry bar in London, which is called Sacred Cafe, which has which has the most extraordinary drinks menu. I don't understand, actually. Oh no! I think they serve like all alcohol-free beers and wines. See, the problem I have is I don't like soft drinks.
Yeah.
I don't like fizzy drinks. I don't like fruit juice very much. So if I'm driving, it's the worst night ever because I'm just stuck with tonic water all night, and that does get a bit wearing. But actually, I suppose if you've got a way of varying it up.
Well, we're in a market now where there's a lot of fancy cordials out as well, and fruit juices and herbal teas is one thing I'm massive on at the moment.
Yeah.
I think I've got a couple in my house for about 3,000 herbal tea bags in of all things. So yeah, there's lots of alternatives to drink in the market now, and there's more and more coming out.
Yeah, which is extraordinary. If you're in a pub with your mates and stuff, I'm guessing the pressure on you as an alcoholic is massive.
It can be, yeah, very much so. And I normally have an exit strategy in place.
What does that mean, an exit strategy?
Well, I'll say to them before we go out that I'll go out and I'll embrace the night out with them, but if they start getting completely sort of drunk, and I find myself having a weak moment and I feel like I'm going to give in and get tempted, I'll probably just do a Houdini and disappear completely. I'll ask them not to bug my phone, just to leave me alone till the next morning, and then I'll link up with them the next morning. And because I'm kind of the chef of my group of friends as well, I normally then get roped into putting together the fry up the next morning because I'm the most coordinated out of all of us.
It's actually, do you know what, it's one of those things as well, when you're the sober one, so if it's me driving and you watch everybody else around you, it is sometimes you think, do you know what, that's what drink does?
Yeah,
I'm
does
doing
act
it
as a
again,
great
yeah.
deterrent.
I can well imagine it does.
Walking down the high street at 2 or 3 in the morning after a night out, looking at the state of your average young person, thinking,
man. Yeah.
I don't miss those days.
It's moderation, I suppose, as a guest, but of course you haven't got that option to you. So what you want to do is open a bar that's exactly the same as every other bar, except it doesn't sell alcohol. But to do that, I guess you need a substantial
and it's not just about people in recovery. I know a lot of people as well. Like I've got a brother of mine who doesn't drink. And if he goes on a night out, one of the things he will bemoan is the fact that they're just drunk people everywhere. And he'd rather go to a venue where there wasn't, and he could just enjoy his night out without that sort of hazard being about. So it's about that as well. And I suppose there's probably a market within the older generation as well for not particularly liking a night out where there's loads of drunk teenagers everywhere.
This is the thing, it's not just the drinking, is it? It's the being surrounded by drunk people, I suppose, which can be completely off-putting. So to do this, you need to raise money, £20,000. How are you doing?
Well, that's the ballpark figure we've put on it.
Okay.
At the minute, we've had a bit of interest, but it's a case of formally putting together, which we're just finishing at the moment, an investment proposal. To go through proper channels in terms of getting funding and things like that. But yeah, there's a lot of interest and a lot of feedback on it at the moment. And there's a lot written about it on the blog and stuff like that. So yeah.
Wish you the very best of luck with it.
Thank you very much.
We had a question for you, which came in from John. Who says a change of mindset is very important. Could you ask Carl what hobbies he's started? So is that what you need to do, I suppose, just change what you're doing and how you live?
Yeah, for all its bad points, addiction's a very time-consuming hobby. And when you sort of stop, you're then left with an endless amount of time on your hands. I kind of sat down and I thought about all the things that a teenage, ambitious, positive me would have thought about doing, like videoing things, photography, family tree, few things just as an example. Computers I was always good with. And then I kind of decided that I'd busy myself by looking into those hobbies further, and one thing I'd always alluded to for years was going back into education. I've now done that. So yeah, it's just yeah, I find the busier I can make myself, the better, and that's why I'm doing the blog as well. I've always wanted to be a writer, so I've been doing a lot with the blog, almost daily with that. So yeah, it's fairly good. There's lots of things on offer at the Rugby Recovery Partnership as well, peer meetings and mindfulness sessions, which are very helpful. So yeah, there's lots going on a daily basis. Wish
you well with it. It's a hard thing, and you've done brilliant. And I suppose you have to take every day as it comes, don't you? So you're counting days. So every day without a drink is a part of the battle won. Yeah. Well, look, I wish you the very best of luck with it, and we'll look forward to seeing a dry bar on the high street in Rugby.
If I just plug the blog as well?
Of course not.
It's carlsrecoveryblog.blogspot.co.uk.
Brilliant. We'll keep an eye on that too. Listen, Carl, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Coming in to see us, it is 7 minutes to 1.